The first major financial players from around the world are deciding on the future of the global economy in the iconic U.S. town of Bretton. The summit, held by billionaire philanthropist George Soros, is focusing on the place the emerging powers will take in the world order. RT's Lauren Lister joins us live from the venue. Hi, Lauren. What have been the main things to come out of the meeting so far? Is there any sense that they've got the ideas to forge a brighter financial future?
Well, those are some lofty goals. So far, the conference has been underway since yesterday, so it's just kind of gotten going. And we've heard from George Soros, the billionaire investor who backs this think tank that is holding it, and also prominent people like Larry Summers, who was the former economic aide, kind of the top guy, the top voice in U.S. President Obama's ear. So far, the themes that we've heard are not so much what needs to take place going forward, but that something needs to change in a new way of thinking about the global economy and the financial order, and the tools that people have to use and that countries have to use need to change. There needs to be new thinking going forward. One of the main issues that we've heard from already is something that the original Bretton Woods conference held here established. You'll remember back in 1944, countries all met here to decide on a global economic framework, and that was the time that the U.S. dollar was named the reserve currency, and countries pegged their exchange rate to it, which is the framework that holds today, and it's something that's coming under question. Yesterday, we heard George Soros say that one of the big questions is if the U.S. dollar should still be the reserve currency. And in fact, he said that other currencies already are kind of taking its place, that it no longer is the main reserve currency, that the euro has a place in the economy that kind of fulfills that role, or could, and that so much diversification has happened with other currencies and also with commodities like gold and oil. And so that's one of the real questions that thinkers are asking here, and moving away from that idea that maybe the U.S. dollar and the United States in its place that it had when this was a unipolar world back in the 1940s, the thinking that that's outdated and that a new framework needs to emerge that takes into account, as you mentioned, developing economies, which have been the economies that have grown at a quick clip and emerged as powers over the last several years, including the BRIC nations of Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And even yesterday, we heard a few times about how China has weathered the financial crisis much better than others and has been the real winner out of the financial crisis and of globalization.
All right, so lots of questions, obviously, but what strategies are being pushed forward at this summit to change the world's financial system?
Right. You know, that's a really good question, Anissa, because we haven't really heard that yet. So far, it's been a lot of academic talk among, top economists and people from the financial sphere and banking that are kind of theorizing and talking about, ideas about what has gone wrong and what could be fixed, but no real battle cry, no real call for change and what that would look like yet. And, to remind, these aren't world leaders that enact actual policy. These are thinkers, these are economists. So it's not really clear what exact direct action can come out of this. But I asked Larry Summers yesterday about this, about what role these kind of conferences with these major players, someone like Soros, anything he says pretty much makes news and is influential when it comes to finance, when it comes to the economy. So I asked what role these kind of things can have, and he said that they do in kind of a cumulative way, that they're often the precursor to the actual policy that gets pushed forward years later. And I'll remind you that some of the policymakers here do still have a role and are close with governments. Even yesterday, Mr. Summers said he couldn't answer a question on Japan selling treasuries because he's still selling U.S. treasuries in the wake of their quake and tsunami and the disaster and what they'll need to repair their economy. And he said he couldn't answer that because he's still much too close to government, just kind of showing that a lot of the names here do have influence still in people that are making policy when it comes to the economy.
All right, RT's Lauren Lister reporting live from New Hampshire. Thanks for that update.